Good evening, class. How are you? I trust you're fine. I'm sorry this is coming late. Okay, I was kind of busy. Now, very quickly, I'm gonna be explaining some exercises from our book, from your course book. That's on page 158. Now, I was trying to explain this earlier today. I have a survey of 40 cars on a particular length of roads. Show that 14 were speeding and find the experimental probability that the next car will be speeding and B not speeding. Okay, the total number of cars is what is 40. So I'm gonna be breaking this down. Okay, I have 40 cars. That is, the total number of cars is 40. Now we are told that 14 out of these 40 cars were speeding. Okay, now and from the question we are told to find not speeding. Now not speeding simply means not speeding. Okay, not speeding simply means you are going to subtract 14 from the total number of cars, okay, to get the numbers of those that is not speeding. Okay, so if you subtract 40 for 14, you're gonna have 26. Okay, this is the total number of cars. Now 14 out of these cars was speeding. Now the remaining leftover, that's 26, means that they are not speeding. Okay, now how can I express this in an experimental probability? Now the first one says the experimental probability of the speeding car. So I have, now the probability of the speeding car is equal to what? Now the speed here is what? Is 14. So I have 14 divided by the total number of cars is what? Is 40. Now this is the experimental probability. The speeding car here is 14 over the total number of cars. Now I can break this down to the simplest fraction. Okay, now 2 will divide 14 7 times and 2 will divide 40 20 times. So this is the simplest form, 7 over 20. Now this is the probability of the car speeding. Okay, now what of the probability of the car not speeding? Not speeding. Now it will be what? 26 all over 24 all over 40. 26 divided by 40. Okay, now the simplest form of this fraction, because this is not the simplest form. Now the simplest form is 2 can divide 26 13 times and 2 can divide 40 20 times. Okay, now this is the simplest form. Now this is the probability of the car not speeding and this is the probability of the car speeding. Now very quickly I'm going to show you another approach or another strategy to answer not speeding. Okay, now anytime you hear the word not means the opposite side. Okay, and this is the positive side, opposite side. Okay, now check this statement. If I ask you to find the probability of not speeding, please pay attention. I need you to pay attention at this part. Probability of not speeding means what? 1 minus probability of speeding. I'm gonna explain again, just pay attention. Now if I ask you to find probability of not speeding, not means that 1 minus the positive statement. Now this is the positive statement, speeding. Okay, this is the negative statement, not speeding. Okay, now for you to find the negative statement means 1 minus the positive statement. Please, I need you to understand this part. Not speeding, find the probability of not speeding. It also means that 1 minus the probability of speeding. Now the opposite of not speeding is what? Is speeding. Okay, if I ask you that what is the probability of not speeding, it means 1 minus probability of speeding. Okay, now and I have 1 minus, now what is the probability of speeding? I have 7 over 20. 7 over 20. I was trying to explain this in the class, but like you don't understand. Now this is just a simple mathematics. I can find the LCM here, so I'm gonna do this shortly. Now 1 minus 7 over 20. Now this is just a simple mathematics. I don't know if you have come across it before, but I will show you how to solve this. Now just multiply these two numbers here. 1 over 1 is the same thing as 1. Okay, So I have 1 over 1. Now 1 multiplied by 20 here is 20. The LCM, least common multiples. Now 20 will divide 1 how many times? 20 times. And 20 will multiply number at the numerator 1. 20 will divide 1 20 times, and 20 will multiply 1. I have 20. Okay, now 20, this is the minus, you put minus here. Okay, now 20 will divide 20 how many times? 1 time. 1 multiplied by 7, you have 7. Okay, now 20 minus 7 is what? Is 13. And your denominator is 20. I will explain again. Find the LCM. 1 multiply 20, you have 20. Okay, now 20 will divide this 1 how many times? 20 times. And 20 multiplied by 1, you have 20. Minus. Now 20 will divide this 20 1 time, and 1 multiplied by 7, you have 7. So 20 minus 7, you have 13 over 20. So the probability of this is, don't forget, this is 1 minus the probability of speeding. Probability of speeding here is what? 7 over 20. Can you see? Speeding 7 over 20. So I have 7 over 20. So the answer here is what? 13 over 20. Now you can say that this is somehow confusing, but I need you to understand. Now, all the simplest form you can do this is just say 20 minus 7, you have 13, and your denominator will repeat itself. Please, I need you to understand this part. Okay, if I now please just look at this little example. I want to use it to explain. Now, if I have a total number of students in a class to be 12, okay, for example, I'm taking this as an example. If I have a total number of students in a class to be 12, and the numbers of girls in that class is 7, then the numbers of boys will be what? The numbers of boys will be what? 12 minus 7. So I have 5. Okay, please pay attention. The total number of a student is 12. Now, out of these 12 students, 7 are boys. It means that the rest numbers is what? They are what? 7 are girls, rather. Now, it means that the remaining students will be boys. Okay, now let me show you. If I ask you that find the probability of girls, it simply means that what? Girls here is what? 7. I have 7 over what? Over 12. Now this is the simplest form. Probability of girls. Now if I ask you to find the probability of boys, or no, probability that it's not a girl. Now the probability that it's not a girl means it's a boy. Okay, if I ask you that find the probability that not a girl, it means it will be a boy. So, and I said for you to find statement like this, it means that what? 1 minus, what is the positive statement of this? 1 minus probability that it's a girl. Okay, find the probability that it's not a girl. It means that what? 1 minus the positive statement of this. What is the positive statement? It means girl. This is the negative, not a girl. Now, for you to find the probability that not a girl, it means 1 minus the probability that it's a girl. So I have 1 minus. Now, what is the probability of girl? Here is what? 7 over 12. Now, let me just teach you the simplest method to answer this. Now, just say 12 minus 7 is what? Is 5. So you have 5, and your denominator is what? Is 12. So this is your answer. Now the probability that it's not a girl, it means that what? It's a boy. So the probability of boy now will be what? 5, and this is 5. So you have 5 over 12. Okay, I just need you to understand this statement. Not a girl means it will be 1 minus the positive statement that it's a girl. Please, I need you to understand the statement because we are going to be using it in the next questions. I think you understand this little example. Okay, now let's go back to our question. Now, question 2 says, there are 320 students in a school. Okay, 16 come to school by car, 96 walk to school. Estimate the probability that a particular student arrived by car. Okay, I'm going to break this down. Okay, now the total number, now this is question 2 from exercise 16.4, question 2. Now the total number of students in a school is this 320. Now we are told that 16 of these students come to school by car, okay? And 96 out of these students come to school by walking, okay? They walk down to school. Now if you plus these two numbers together, you're gonna have a what? Because we also have some numbers that are left over, okay? Now if you plus 16 plus 96, so you're gonna have 122, okay? If you add these two numbers together, you have 122. Now if you subtract 320 from 122, we want to know the numbers of students that are left. So if you subtract 320 from 112, you have 208. Now this 208 means these people come to school by other means, okay? I'm going to break it down again. I have 320 students in a school. Now out of these students, 16 will come to school by car, okay? 96 will come to school by walking, okay? By walking. Now the remaining students will come to school by others. So others means they can bring their bicycle to school, okay? Or they can find another means of coming to school. It means others. Now if you plus all these numbers together, you have your total number of students, okay? I need you to understand. Now how do I get 112? Now if you plus the number of students by car and by walking, 16 plus 96, you have 122. Now if you subtract 112 from 320, you're gonna have 208. So this is the remaining students, okay? Now the question says, what is the probability of those that arrive by car? Now the probability of those that come to school by car is what? Is 16 over the total number of students. So I have 16 over 320. Now the simplest form, because this is not the simplest form, the simplest form of 16 over 320 is 16 will divide itself one time, and 16 will divide 32 two times, and you have 0 here. So it's 1 over 20. Now this is the probability of those that come to school by car. This is question A, 2A. Now question 2B. Now what is the probability of those that walk to school? Now probability of those that walk to school, it's what? Is 96, okay? So I have 96 divided by total number of students. So I have 320. Please, I need you to pay attention. Now what is the simplest form of 96 over 320? Now if I divide this by 16, I will have 6. And if I divide this by 16, I will have I have 20. Okay, this is not the simplest form. I can make it to the simplest form. Now if you divide 6 by 3, I have, no, if you divide 6 by 2, I have 3, okay? And if you divide 20 by 2, I have 10. Now this is the probability of those that walk to school, 3 over 10, okay? This is the simplest form. And the probability of those that walk to school is also what? 1 over 20. Now the next question says, does not walk to school. Now it means that if they don't walk to school, then they will either use a car or others. Don't forget the probability that they don't walk to school. I'll use two methods. Okay, now probability that they don't walk. Okay, now look at this. If it doesn't work, or if they don't walk to school, it means they'll either use a car or others. Okay, I'm going to use two methods to answer this question. Now probability that they don't walk to school means they either use a car or they use others. Now what is the probability of the car here? It was 16. That's 16 over 320. So you have 16 over 320, or that your all will turn to plus, or others. Now others is what? 208 over 320. 208 over 320. Now you can plus these two together because the denominators are the same. Now if you plus 16 and 208, so you're gonna have 224, and this is your 320. You have 320. 16 plus 208, I have 224. Now this is how I get don't walk to school. Now if he does not walk to school, it means he used the car or others. Now the probability of the car is what? 16 over 320. Now you don't use the simplest form, you come back to your original statement, the wave statement, which is 16. That's why I have 16 over 320, or others. The others is what? 208. So I have 208. Now you can plus together, so you have 224 all over 320. Okay. Now if I would break this down to the simplest form, if I divide this by 16, if I divide this by 16, let me use a calculator. 1 minute. 224 by 16. Okay, I have 14. If I divide by this, now you divide this by 16. Now if you divide this by 16 also, you have 20. Okay, you can use a calculator to check. Now what will be the simplest form? Let me see. 2 can divide 14 7 times, and 2 can divide 20 how many times? 10 times. So this is your answer. Now the probability that they don't walk to school is 7 over 10. Can you see? They don't walk to school means they can use a car or others. Now let me teach you the other method. Please pay attention. Now the probability that they don't walk to school means don't walk to school. Now this is a negative statement. Means what? 1 minus probability that they walk to school. This is what I want you to understand. Okay, probability that they don't walk to school means that 1 minus probability that they walk to school. So I'm gonna have 1 minus, now what is the probability that they walk to school? Where's your answer? Walk to school is what? 3 over 10. Probability that they walk to school is what? 3 over 10. So I have 3 over 10. Now this is very simple. I told you before, if you do this according to LCM, it's a long journey. Now just say 10 minus 3 is what? I have 7. 7 all over your denominator is 10. So the probability that they don't walk to school is what? 7 over 10. Now can you see we arrive at the same answer? Now I use the other method. The other method that they don't walk to school means they use a car and they use others. Okay, we arrive at 7 over 10. Or you say that the probability that they don't walk to school is what? 1 minus probability that they walk to school. Okay, this is walking to school, and walk to school is 3 over 10. That's how I got 1 minus 3 over 10. Okay, and I arrive at 7 over 10. Do you understand? Now the last question, question D, the probability that does not work or come by car. Now they don't work and they don't use a car. It means that they use others. They don't come by walking and they don't come by car. So it means they use others. So we want to find the probability. Now the probability that they don't walk or come by car is what? It means that it's others. So I have 208 divided by the total number of students. That's 320. So I have 320. Now if I break this down to the simplest form, I will advise you to use a calculator in case you are confused. Now 208 and 320, the simplest form. Now if I divide 208 by 16, I will have 13. And if I divide this by 16, we divide by 16. If I divide this by 16, I have 20. So the probability that they don't walk or come by car is what? 13 over 20. Do you understand? Okay, I'm gonna pause here.